My name is Ernest Eguia. I was born in Lockhart, Texas, November the 7th, 1919. My parents brought me to Houston when I was 6 months old.
What are your earliest memories of Houston?
My earliest would be going to elementary school. The name of the school was Hawthorne on Houston Avenue. And I graduated from there rather early and went to Dallas School, which is located on Kane and Silver Streets. Graduated from there and went to the old Sam Houston High School, the one downtown. Those would be my earliest memories of schools.
And what was school like? Did you walk to school? Did you ride to school?
Everybody walked to school. Nobody had a car back then, particularly in our neighborhood. Yes, we walked to school all the time. We walked everywhere. We walked to the movies, we walked to church, we walked everywhere.
And in that time, Houston was still a segregated city. Were you aware of that when you were young?
I was not aware of it until one occasion in Dallas School. The principal selected two of us to go to a gathering at Dede High School. Several schools were competing there, and another young man and myself went to Dede to represent Dallas School in arithmetic. At the end of the competition, I was told that I had come in second out of all the schools, and the one young man that was with me was third. But a couple of months later, the principal at Dallas School called everybody into the auditorium to announce the winners. And at that time, he elected or selected to say that the other young man had been second and I was third. That was my first confrontation with anything having to do with being segregated or anything like that. I had never confronted anything like that before. And it was so minor to me then because I was a teenager, you might say. I was ignorant to those facts. But I placed second anyway, and I knew that I was better than the other guy.
You said you were born in 1919.
Right.
So you lived through the Depression period. Do you have any memories of the Depression here?
Plenty of them, yes.
What was it like? How did the Depression?
It was tough. It was very tough. In fact, because of the Depression, I had to quit high school. My father became ill, couldn't work, and I was able to land a job in a store. First it was after school, but when I told the manager there that I could work all day, he hired me. And I started working there, but before that, the Depression was so tough that everybody, not just us or anybody else, everybody had a tough life. I remember going to the farmer's market, which was on Preston Avenue. I would get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I had built a little wagon, and I would go there to pick up whatever I could. I would help the farmers either load or unload. They would give me bananas or apples or whatever they had, and I would put them in my wagon. Or if maybe something fell off of their trucks, I'd confiscate it and put it in my wagon. And there was another place called Produce Row on Commerce. I would go there, and they also had a lot of vegetables that would come in by rail, and we would live off of those things. I also went to shine shoes when I started at shining shoes at 9 years old, in a barber shop almost at the corner of Houston Avenue in Washington. And in the afternoons, I sold papers there at that same corner. There were 3 papers in those days, the Houston Chronicle, the Houston Post, and the Houston Press. The Houston Press sold for 3 cents. And I sold there on the corner. And back then we had streetcars. And I would sell papers there on the corner. But going back to my job that I got at that store, I had to work 6 days a week from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening for $1. And then that would be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. On Thursday from 7 to 8. And on Friday 7 to 9. Saturday 7 to 10. Same $1. And there would be sometimes 3 or 4 men, grown men, trying to take my job away because they needed the job, and they would get paid $1 also. But the man one day asked him, "Well, do you think that you can run faster than this boy?" "What are you talking about?" "Well, sometimes I need some merchandise from the store or a factory about 12 blocks away. How long would it take you to run those 10 blocks up there, 12 blocks, and come back?" And the guy would tell me, "Oh, maybe 10 minutes. He said, this dog can do it in 3 minutes. Get out of here." I kept my job until I went into the service in 1941.
And what did you do in the service?
Pardon me?
What did you do in the service? What branch?
I was in the Army. I was in the Fort. I went from here to Fort Sam Houston, to California. Got my basic training there, and then went to Fort Lewis in Washington. They sent me back to the coast in California to do some coastal artillery, and stayed there because we dug in some emplacements there and set up our guns, 155 mm guns there on the coast to guard the coast. And we stayed there for several months because evidently there was fear that the Japanese would invade the United States. So I was in the artillery then. And I remained in the artillery for 4 years until I mustered out in 1945.
Were you drafted or did you enlist?
I was drafted.
And what was that like? How old were you when you went in the Army?
20 years old.
A lot of young kids?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, for a lot of people, the Army was where all the different parts of the country came together.
Yes, everybody. I met fellows there from all over the country, all over.
And for a lot of people of color, that became their awakening, that it wasn't the same everywhere in the country. Did you have that sense? Was it an important time for you?
I don't know what you mean by color. Are you talking about blacks?
Blacks, browns, Asians, I mean, everybody, when they came to the Army, if they found out that there were different places.
Well, you see, we were not segregated. Right. The blacks were. We didn't have any blacks in our outfit at all. All the 4 years that I was in the Army, we didn't have blacks in our outfit at all. Now, there were blacks in the Army, but they were segregated. And I don't know anybody else that was segregated. Black, yellow, red, or whatever. We had Indians from the West Coast around. I met Indians from Washington and Oregon. I met Filipinos. I met people of the yellow race in the Army. We were not segregated at all.
So when you came back to Houston, had it changed any?
I would say it did. When I came back, I was under the impression that maybe those 4 years had given the city fathers, the people here that were heading the government, both the city and the county governments, the idea that they were getting some people back that had been, you might say, educated overseas, and they had better wake up. But here in Houston, when I got back, I noticed that there wasn't one single police officer or fireman that was Hispanic. And I found out also that there was a lot of discrimination. There were still restaurants that would not allow Hispanics in a restaurant. Now the blacks, they were still very segregated, but that never occurred to me, except when I got back I had a little confrontation with some officers, but we straightened that out. But I was invited to join an organization, a civic organization that was fighting a case similar to this situation where we were considered second-class citizens, even though we had spent not only our lives, but 4 years of our lives in the army fighting for the people back home. And they told me about a young man that had was recipient of the Medal of Honor, the highest honor you can get in the service, that was on his way from Fort Sam Houston to Houston, and he and 4 other guys stopped in Fort Bend to buy a hamburger and then continue on to Houston. And the owner of the restaurant there would not serve one particular man there a hamburger. And they asked him why. He said, because he's a Mexican. So then the other guy said, look, this guy's wearing the Medal of Honor. And the restaurant owner said, I don't give a damn what he's wearing. He's a Mexican and I will not serve him. So consequently, these guys tore up the restaurant. I mean, they disabled it. So the young man that took the brunt of the situation there was taken to court. His name was Macario Garcia. I got into the situation where I said, I'm going to help defend this guy because they're taking him to court. Eventually, the case was thrown out of court because the restaurant received bad publicity, not only in Fort Bend, but all over the United States. So it was thrown out. They threw it out. And in the meantime, we were here in Houston trying to get enough money to help Macario fight the case in court. By the end of the situation there, we had collected over $6,000, which we gave to Macario. He in turn gave it to his mother, and she bought a home here. But those are the things that had changed there, which wasn't much. And I could stay here for another 2 hours and tell you about them, but not too much has changed, and we proceeded. This organization that I joined, LULAC, name of it, we proceeded to pressure the city government and the county government, excuse me, to take note of the fact that we were not second-class citizens, that we were going to vote, and we could vote them out. And we represented probably a good portion of the citizens here, and we wanted to be treated like anybody else. So things changed. The police department started hiring more policemen in that course. They hired Hispanics and also firemen, excuse me, and also people working in City Hall. There were not any people working in City Hall that were Hispanic. So we pressured them for that, and excuse me, they hired them.
How'd you pressure them?
We called them together at a meeting, excuse me, at one of the courthouses here in Houston. If you go back into the archives, you'll find that there were over 800 people at that meeting. And we told them that we wanted to be treated like anybody else. That if our vote did not count, they had better wake up, because we had votes that we would probably run them out of office. Because at that meeting, out of the 800 people that were there were over 300 members of LULAC. And you multiply 300 members by probably 3 or 4 members in each family, and you got a pretty good size amount of votes. But anyway, that is the method we used.
Let's see. And now, bring us up to date from those early efforts. What has changed here in Houston? How has it changed?
Well, the change has been dramatic. Back in those days, we didn't have television, for one thing. We didn't have freeways. We didn't have these skyscrapers that are coming out. I think the Esperson building was the highest building we had back when I got back from service. That, plus the fact that we have seen a lot of changes, in not only with the Hispanics, but also, if you can remember, the blacks started getting recognized also, and they too started being allowed to take part as being citizens also. If you remember, they weren't even allowed to eat in certain places. They had their own theaters. The Lincoln Theater on Prairie Avenue, for instance, was their only theater here in Houston. But eventually, as you can see now, the blacks are equal to anybody else, or I would say they can go anywhere anybody else is able to go if you have the ability, and I'm using the word ability loosely there. But I think that it has changed in many ways. People have become more intelligent. They have become more friendly than they used to be. They have become more, I see more religion in Houston than I have ever seen. And I see people more involved in politics than ever before. So yes, the city has grown not only in those aspects, but the fact that we now have NASA close by, that we have all of our facilities have grown. The zoo, the arts, everything around Houston has grown, including the fact that the city has grown with many other educational facilities. Like the city of Houston has now I don't know how many institutions of high learning that it didn't have back then. And that is good, because it shows that we're interested in bringing up our youth and educating them and trying to see that they have a future here in Houston. Because we do need to educate our youngsters and let them know that they're coming up behind us, and we need them to follow us and to build a better place for their kids like we did for them.